Hey everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the Snapchat. I'm joined today with a very special guest, Huskypuppies, one of the highest ranked Marvel Snap players on the planet, and a caster at the Golden Gauntlet. Husky, how are you, my friend?
I am doing absolutely wonderfully. It is a absolute pleasure to be here. This is a little bit of a dream come true for me. It's sort of my first dip into content creation for Marvel Snap was listening to this, so it's gone a lot further than I expected, but I'm more than happy to be here. How are you doing yourself?
Buddy, I'm doing great, and a lot of people might not realize this, but you and I had an opportunity to meet at one of my absolute favorite places on Earth, and you're actually representing the shirt right now. PAX Unplugged. We met at PAX East, though, in Boston, and, PAX, it holds a very special place in my heart. It's where I learned how to play games. I wouldn't be making content if it wasn't for PAX in the first place, but you and I got to meet, and what an awesome experience that was.
It was absolutely phenomenal. They say don't meet your heroes, but I'm gonna be talking to the viewers for a second. This guy is like the nicest guy I've met in a long time. It's like I was like, oh yeah, it's not gonna be like it was here. He's not gonna be as wholesome, and then it's just like, wow, it was It got some very good sage advice for you outside of Snap, and it was just an absolute blast to be there with you. It's a very fun time.
It was a fun time, and I know we got to chill with STG as well, Super Tech God, who was prior on the show as well. And Husky, I got to tell you though, you hold a record for the Snapchat here. You're going to be the highest ranked player to ever be on the Snapchat because, we have had a couple major competitive players, but you are, my friend, the highest ranked we've had thus far. And it takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of skill, a lot of talent to get to the levels where you are consistently competing. I'll be watching your stream, you're in the top 20, right? I'm like, how does he get there? How does this man do it? What is one of the strategies you use to propel yourself so high in the meta?
A lot of it is connections. I know a lot of very good people. It's being in the right space so that, hey, maybe I can't make a list for the meta that I really like, that I really jive with. I can find someone else. I can get help with that. And being able to be connected with other top people, get tips from them, it's a positive cycle that just spirals you up. And it's just a phenomenal place to be. There's a lot of very good people I met, a lot of very talented, dedicated people. And it's just, we've all come together about, learning and mastering this game. Other than that, it's a lot of pattern recognition and, time.
Yeah, a lot of time, a lot of pattern recognition. I absolutely agree, right? And what's interesting as well is that, I feel like what you're saying is surround yourself with excellence, right? And you'll often, be able to excel yourself. And I think that's one of the things that, has kind of broken my heart a little bit in Snap, whereas I feel like some of my friends have started to drift away from the game a little bit. I know we were literally just talking before we started about how some of our friends in content creation, big or small, and all of which exceptionally talented, have drifted away from the game. But you know what, Husky, you're still here. I'm still here. We're still cooking. And you know what, guys, you're still here as well. And we appreciate each and every one of you. Now, we got a lot of topics we want to talk about today. But before we do that, Husky, I want to talk to you about something for a second. I saw you on the Golden Gauntlet. You were casting with Gregor, and I got to tell you, you guys crushed it. You guys were fantastic. What's it been like, not only casting an event like that, like a grassroots competitive Marvel Snap event, but what is it like to just have an event like that in the first place, finally happening in the Snap universe?
It is absolutely amazing. I am sort of, as you mentioned, representing a lot more of the competitive side of Marvel Snap, to see that be recognized officially, and then not only that, but also myself recognized officially, is just a feeling of absolute bliss. It's everything I wanted and more. I only just hope it continues gaining traction, and especially in hopefully I'm pretty sure the next few Golden Gauntlets will be in a little bit easier time zone for me. So I'm very, very excited for that. Casting it was... I was a little bit nervous. I had casted some other events beforehand, but this one was big. It was very well produced. Shout out to the production team. Things started a little bit late, but things went very, very smoothly, and it was just butterflies in my stomach the whole time, but an absolute blast to do.
Yeah, you know what? I felt the exact same way when I did Deadpool's Diner, and it was funny because I was doing it alongside Cozy, so we had a lot of like natural kind of synergy with each other. You know, we had been so familiar with each other, but at the same time, you know, I was nervous. I was nervous doing something like that, and it was interesting to see that Cozy, who had been on camera so many times and been in so many events for Marvel Snap, he was like kind of like the calmest guy in the room. Like nothing was a surprise to him. He was like ready to go with everything. And in some ways, watching him work in that capacity gave me a lot of confidence to work in that capacity. And so, you know, it's something that a lot of people might not realize, that like, you know, even when like there's technical issues, which you guys experience, and how do you fill that time and how do you work through those things? And, you know, you don't always have the answers. You don't always, like, you don't have a script to go off. You have to be light on your feet, you know, as they say, and you did exactly that. So I just want to say, honestly, thank you so much for supporting competitive Marvel Snap, and the team at the Golden Little Gauntlet have been doing a phenomenal job. Let's be honest, and I'm so happy that Second Dinner is supporting such an initiative.
Oh yeah, I could not be happier with the way things are going. I was a little bit scared for the health of the game with, you know, the whole Kid Omega fiasco, but it's really pulling back. People are enjoying the game again. They're taking steps in the right direction. It's not perfect, but I think it's better, and better is good.
Yeah, there's a lot of improvements still to be made, though. I feel like we are still in a process, unfortunately, of a bit of a downhill slope in terms of, you know, player retention and, I mean, content creator retention of all types. I think in Marvel Snapland is hurting a little bit, but hopefully over time they do take a serious look at their metrics, and they start to evaluate as to how they can continue to support this game for the long term. Because based on my conversations with Second Dinner, I have to tell you, it doesn't seem like they're like tapping out. Like, it seems like they want this game to be successful long term. And so I hope that they do take the community feedback seriously, because right now it seems like a very downward trajectory. Like, I feel it in my metrics. I'm sure you feel it as well, streaming wise. And they must feel it in their pocketbooks as well. And I think that the answer is not to, well, we're making less money, let's charge more for everything. It's like, no, let's make the experience better. Let's keep the player retention higher. Let's make this experience unforgettable, so you always want to come back. And I think that's the key, right? And I think that that's a message I think that the player base has been trying to say to them. And one of the things that's been really interesting about Snap is that a lot of the players, even the most vocal and quote unquote negative ones, they often come from a place of love. Like, they're mad because they love the game they're playing, and they just don't like the direction it's going in, or they don't like the monetization approach. It's not about hating Marvel Snap. They love Marvel Snap, and that's why they're angry. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they can't play it the way that they really, really want to. It's with the card acquisition, and especially like returning players not being able to really catch up in a meaningful way. It's really, really hard if you take a little bit of a break. And that's been something that has been hurting for a while. But yeah, every time I see negative feedback, it's oftentimes out of a place of love. It's like, I love the snap mechanic. Like, being able to just reset the board and, you know, leave for one after, you know, a bad draw, a bad location. It feels so nice. It's like, why haven't other card games done this? And it's just the game is such a phenomenal piece. There's a reason why I play it as much as I do at a high enough level. It's just, it's hard to get there. It's hard to get back if you slip a little bit.
Absolutely. And on that note, it's probably about time that we discuss some of the new cards in Marvel Snap. And we'll get started with Frankie Raye Nova. Now, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this yet, but you'll be seeing me tomorrow on the main Marvel Snap channel as I discuss Frankie Raye Nova. And I got to tell you, I was excited for the opportunity to get to test the card a little early. And so I will tell you that it has some pop-off potential. Frankie Raye Nova is a really fascinating card. It is a 2/3, and it reads, after the next time you play a 6-cost card, double this card's power. Frankie Raye Nova has the opportunity to go well into the 20s and 30s in power if you want to get greedy enough. Not always the correct choice with the likes of Shang-Chi and Shadow King floating around. Now, in prior ratings, maybe because I got to place a little bit of it in advance and I got a little hyped up, I came in at 4.5 stars, really excited for the power potential at the 2-drop. Might be a little high. I think there's a little bit of rose-colored shades there. But Huskypuppies, we usually rank things out of 5 stars. What would you come in at with Frankie Raye Nova?
Oh, that's tricky. Ooh, I'd probably go a little bit lower than you. I'm probably this is going to be a strong card. I think it may not be the strongest thing to do, but a 2/3 that's only upside. You know, it gets to a 2/6 with a pretty easy condition if you just build your deck relatively the way it wants to. I'd say maybe a 4 stars, 3.5 to 4 is where I'd go. I don't think it'll break everything. Yeah, it's still very techable if it gets big, but it can get big.
You know what? I got really hyped up and said 4.5. It's probably closer to 4, like, honestly. But I do agree the downside potential is there, but it is a relatively straightforward condition to meet. I do like the idea that the floor is essentially it's a 2/3. That's really the floor, right? But it's a 2/6 if you do have a 6-drop, which is not a difficult condition to meet at all, especially along the likes of, like, why don't you just play the new G-Man, right? Like, you could play the new G-Man, and that works out well enough, and you also have that play pattern that's kind of exciting and fun. But what I will tell you is that just a couple things that might not be inherently obvious based on the text. The first thing is that it only procs once. So if you play multiple 6-drops, it doesn't matter. The first time you play 6-drop, the 6-drop will reveal, and then Frankie Raye will adopt the power. That is important for one of the synergies. I'll just talk about it now. One of my favorite places where I was testing Frankie Raye Nova was in a Nomura deck. And I really liked this. Yeah, so I really liked it because one of the major reasons why it worked so effectively is because it worked really well alongside cards like Symbiote Spider-Man and Odin, mainly because when you merge the card with something like a Symbiote Spider-Man, that power will then get doubled with the use of a 6-drop. But important, with something like a Nomura, if you hit like a Frankie Raye on one side and a Cosmo on another, right? If you hit Nomura with an Odin, the Odin will drop, the power, Nomura's effect will also go off, the power will be applied to Frankie Raye Nova, and then she'll check the condition. So because of that, you're kind of double dipping on these abilities, and with a Nomura-based shell, I was able to consistently get her above 30 power, which, I mean, it's crazy to see. I have video evidence of it that you'll see on the main Snap channel, right? It's one of the clips I used, and it wasn't that hard. But the thing is that, like, you're begging for Shang-Chi. You're begging, like, you don't always win Marvel Snap games with these, like, towers of power that just sit there and say, hey, you don't have the tech to beat me. And then, like, oh, look, they played Shadow King or Shang-Chi or whatever, Cannonball, Mercury. There's so many ways you can deal with massive power. I actually do like that about Marvel Snap, by the way. I like that it's not just I'm just going to throw down as many big points as I can. Like, there's options. I know a lot of people hate Shangers, but I wanted to just mention that. I do think Nomura is a really interesting place for Frankie Raye Nova, and it's a very natural synergy that'll work very well.
See, my question for you is, have you tried Blink Nomura decks? You Electro on 3, you Blink on 4 after playing Frankie Raye Nova on 2. A Nomura comes out of the deck, buffing up the, replacing the Electro, buffing the Frankie Raye, as well as the Blink, getting just absolute massive value. It is a phenomenal time.
I did not actually test that, so talk to me more because you're getting me excited.
Okay, so I built a list that actually worked without Frankie Raye Nova fairly well. Not the best. It had some very, very odd picks. It was a sort of a War Machine deck that also ran Elektra as a little bit of a tech piece for end of turn. All about ramping out extra energy, cheating out big 5s like Nomura, like Blink, turning, oftentimes an Electro into, at minimum, a War Machine, and at maximum an Infinite or maybe an Alioth. You can really, really scale out of control. And I was using some oftentimes unseen 2-drops. I was using Jeff the Baby Landshark just as a, that's a 2/8 that can move. That's pretty solid. As well as Jennifer Kale. And if I'm playing those 2/3s in a Nomura deck, and it wasn't my most successful deck at high infinite, but it stood its own. And I'll definitely take that. This card seems like it's going to be an absolute phenomenal synergy piece for that.
You know what I really like as well about Nomura shells is they do have some budget options that work well, because if you don't pull the Nomura package, if you're doing like an Odin package with it, you could very easily do like a Wong White Tiger type, like, zoo style thing. But also, if you're missing something like Frankie Raye Nova and you want to get on the action, you're missing tokens, like, you have options like Yeah, I know it's Cope, but like even Colossus can seriously sit there as a Nomura card and be like non-interactable, right? Cosmo is also an option to be completely non-interactable. And yeah, it's not the sexiest way to play Marvel Snap. Like, don't get me wrong, this is severe Cope, but we got to give some budget gamers some love here, right? Because we're just talking about new cards all the time. And everyone's like, I can't play these things. But yeah, there are going to be budget options as well. But yeah, honestly, I thought about like a straight up ramp shell with Electro and using Blink, but I hadn't thought about it in that way. I hadn't thought about actually trying to use Blink to target the Nomura. I was thinking about using Blink to target large 6-drops that then could be followed up on, right? But I do like that approach. That's particularly interesting. I was also thinking about, well, what's a natural way to kind of get some buffs to Frankie Raye? And I was thinking like, what if you run like a big buff deck, right? Like you got like the Fastos, you got all the buffs, those types of decks. But like, what if you're trying to run something along the lines of like a Mysterio Bishop combination with a Sasquatch finish? You could have a pretty wide balanced power output, especially on turn 6. Or even on like, I don't know. I just see a lot of power potential with like the Hitmonkey, the Sasquatch, Frankie Raye Nova doubling. And when I was designing that deck to try to test it, I was having a hard time putting in too many buff mechanics there. But at the same time, I did see some potential in something like that as well.
Yeah, there is definitely some potential with that. A deck that I've been taking note of, especially with this card coming out, is not the Hitmonkey Sasquatch Mysterio deck, but the Mockingbird Sasquatch Mysterio deck. You get 2 very, very cheap activations for Frankie Raye Nova. And, you know, you run a Gwenpool. Gwenpool can double up on Frankie Raye, can double up on that Mysterio, and get some absolute wild power swings. And, you know, Sasquatch and Mockingbird are probably 2 of the really easiest 6-drops to play out. They reduce themselves in cost. There is 6-drop really only if your opponent has Mobius or you have like a terrible, terrible draw. And I think that is sort of the shell, maybe other than Nomura, that I'm most exciting for. Something with Gwenpool and then those 2 big 6-drops as a finisher. Try to make sure that Frankie Raye always has a relatively easy option to trigger. Because, yeah, this is a phenomenal ability on a very, very low-cost card. But if you can't play a 6-drop, it becomes, you know, it becomes a shocker.
Yeah, definitely. And one other thing that's worth mentioning, kind of like in the discussion you're having here, is like something like a Gwenpool or Galacta. Those all work because Frankie Raye Nova does not have to go down on 2, right? You can use it on turn 5. And in my testing, I was actually doing it like that. I often playing it on turn 5 in conjunction with another card on turn 5. The way I phrased that was kind of awkward, but you get what I'm saying. And then on turn 6, you finish off with your 6-banger, right? So I think there's a couple different approaches to how to get this card out. And one thing that's been giving me hope is that like we have these buff decks, and like I'm getting Mr. Sinisters that are putting out like 18 power, like not individually, but like together they're putting out 18 power. I'm like, but I didn't even have to work that hard for it. You know, you get a little Fastos here, a little Galacta there, a little Gwenpool here. And next thing you know, at like turn 5 or 6, plus you're getting discounts from Mr. Fantastic First Steps. Like you get these massive Mr. Sinisters that your opponent's like, where is this guy even coming from? And so if I could see Mr. Sinister doing that, I wonder if Frankie Nova can.
I think it definitely can, especially with the ability to be buffed on board and taking up 1 less board spot. You can also hide this behind Cosmo, which is really, really nice. Another really strong point is if you can some of the really big 2-drop and 3-drop scalers that, you know, you play alongside Galacta and Gwenpool, things like Brood, things like this, things like Mr. Sinister, also have phenomenal synergy with Juggernaut. I would not be surprised to see a lot of Juggernaut decks come alongside and slot their way into any Frankie Raye cooks. Just because, hey, you know, I have a very big Shangable target. Put your Shang in this lane. Nope, Juggernaut's pushing it away to some other lane where it doesn't do any harm.
That's hilarious because Juggernaut's one of those cards that honestly is forgotten about until you hit the higher MMRs. It really is. It's probably one of the least played. Him and Shadow King are the 2 cards, specifically Juggernaut. People know about Shadow King, but like even at lower MMRs, people just do not appreciate what Juggernaut does to the game on turn 6. Like it is absolutely soul crushing to get Juggernauted sometimes. And I like that. I like that you bring him up because he is definitely someone that needs some love. Now, this is a little cope. I was thinking about, like, do I try an high Evo shell where, you know, Frankie Raye is getting buffed alongside, like, a Misty Knight, then very easy She-Hulks or Infinauts or Hulks or whatever. I was like, I don't know. I don't think you're getting enough procs there, honestly. But I do agree that the Mysterio stuff alongside something like the Sasquatch and the Mockingbird has extremely high potential. At the end of the day, honestly, I think this is a card that I'm interested in because there's a number of different ways to build it. I think there's going to be some budget-centric ways to build it too, because you do have things like Okoye, Nakia, right? And yeah, they're not the sexiest ways to build decks, but they are relatively straightforward ways to play decks. And Gwenpool Galacta, those are two cards that, like, if you don't have in your collection, they could very well be worth your tokens because they're like these long-time mainstays in the meta. And you even have things like Forge and Chavez that are going to be relatively inexpensive that players who pick this card up through the packs will be able to kind of build a budget deck with. So really excited for Frankie Raye Nova. And I gotta be honest with you, buddy, I'm a little less excited about this next card. It's Firelord. Firelord is a Series 4 card that I think is releasing on August 12th, which is, well, tomorrow. Okay, that makes sense. It's releasing alongside, but it's entering the Series 4 packs. They didn't release all the Series 4 cards at the same time for whatever reason. Firelord has phenomenal art, by the way. It's one of my favorite art pieces in the game, especially for base art. It's a 4/6, and it reads, on reveal, revive one of your discarded or destroyed 3-cost cards here. What are your thoughts, Husky?
This is a very, very tricky one. I think it is going to have at least some people trying it out, specifically in like a Gambit version of Surfer. One of the main problems with that is, if Gambit hits your Silver Surfer, yeah, you're kind of up shit's creek without a paddle. But now you have a way to bring it back, and the only problem I see with this is, okay, maybe you can do some fire hair stuff with this, but like at a certain point, this is kind of like a worse Phoenix Force, just because, it's one more power, doesn't get Shadow Kinged as easily, but it can't move, and especially at high level, just having something that can move around and then threaten all 3 lanes is an absolute phenomenal thing to do. You're kind of left with just the discard synergy, and it's okay, you gotta discard an exact 3 cost. You can do that with like Swordmaster maybe, but that is a lot of hoops to jump through for something that really can only come down on turn 4 in a Surfer deck.
Yeah, you know what? And for me, like, I'm still struggling with what I'm going to design with this particular card because it just doesn't call to me. Like, Frankie Raye Nova, like, I got decks ready, man. Like, I'm so excited for it. I think it builds itself in some ways. With Firelord, it's like, is this just too cute? Like, am I trying to jump through too many hoops for, like, something that's really not all that worth it? Now, we've been surprised with cards like this in the past, in both directions, because, like, I feel like something like Firehair, you brought it up, great example. You look at something like Firehair, that design has seemingly limitless potential. And then all of a sudden, you get the card, and you're like, hey, you know what? Like, these are a lot of hoops to jump through, and yeah, I'm milling their deck hard, but, like, still not really winning that much, right? It's kind of interesting how that feels. And Firehair, I think, is one of those cards that honestly is going to age like fine wine. That card's just going to get better over time. But Firelord, I look at, and yeah, okay, maybe, but the stats are fine, I guess. But it's like, it's a lot of hoops to jump through. Now, star rating wise, we didn't do star ratings. I'm giving this a 2. I'd be interested in yours.
I think I agree with you. I'm going to say maybe like a 2.5. Not because this is a card I think most people are fine with getting, but like there are going to be some top Infinite people trying this out, and they're going to be doing fine because they're good players that are, and they're coping a little bit, but it's a fun thing that they can do. You don't play every deck, even at high Infinite, for the win rate. You play it because you like it. You play it because it's fun. Some people have a lot more fun with winning, but I'm not one of those people. I like fun decks that also win. This card's just hard to work with, especially with even with the Firehair stuff. If you destroy Firelord is the first thing that gets destroyed, and then the 3 costs that it brings back. So if it was the other order, you could do something cheeky with I play Venom on Firelord and the 3-drop, and then it kills the 3-drop and then revives it afterwards, but it's just kind of awkward.
It is, especially when you have 4-drops like Gwenpool and Galacta that just buff Brood. It's you know what I mean? Yeah. It's why would you jump through all these hoops if you can just do this? And obviously Surfer's not going to be the only synergy, because there is another card that's worth mentioning here. We don't have it yet because it's a limited time game mode Series 4. Airwalker is a 3/3 that reads, when this is destroyed, replace it with a 4-cost card from your hand or deck. And so in thinking about that, you could say, okay, what if I turn 2 Kid Omega, turn 3 you Airwalker, you destroy it, and what you're going to do is you're going to actually replace that destroyed card with the Mr. Negative, with the, whatever that you're seeking, that 4-cost card in your hand or deck, and then you're able to Firelord it back out on turn 3. I don't know, but it's just too cute. Like, why are you jumping through those hoops for ultimately very little reward? It might work with a negative deck, but why are you running a Firelord in a negative deck? You know what I mean? For that extra draw when you can just retreat and snap on 2 when you have your Psylocke or Ravonna or whatever the hell you're playing, right? So for Firelord, honestly, like I just don't see a lot of them. I just really don't. And it makes sense that this is a Series 4 card, but of the Series 4 cards we've received, this is by far the worst in my opinion, because we got Terrax, who we'll talk about in a moment here. We have Reg. Those are cool cards, man. Those are really cool cards. And I don't think Firelord is going to fit the mold or the niches that they find themselves in. Like, I feel like Firelord's answering a question that we never asked.
Yeah, it's just opportunity cost. As you said, it's like, okay, by building my deck so much around Firelord, it's just, you're doing worse things than most other 4-drops. Unless there's, granted, with other cards coming out, yeah, he'll get a little bit better. He'll get a little bit more synergy. It's just a question of, all right, maybe he'll age gracefully, but will he increase in power fast enough to keep up with power creep? Good things are released all the time. We are getting at minimum 1 card per week, and it's like, okay, is Firelord ever really going to be worth putting aside the new thing and going back to something that maybe was left by the wayside? I don't know.
It's true, but at the same time, it reminds me of like the Elixir cope a little bit, where people are like, well, Kid Omega's great. No one's really playing Kid Omega right now because it's cringe, but when they do, they're going to be happy they have Elixir, right? And got to get Elixir. And I'm like, bro, I don't think Elixir's ever going to be particularly good. I mean, there's a chance one day Elixir will be good, because those types of effect, as I said, like, they age well, because like they're going to interact with new cards that come out in the future. And with Firelord, we'll have to see. So we're both a little down on Firelord. My friend, that's going to take us to the next series of discussions. We're going to be talking about the prior cards that have just come out this past week. Now, do note that in discussing the statistics, we are using untapped-based statistics. These statistics are going to be utilizing ranked 70 to infinite stats. The reason for this is because this early in the season, we simply don't have enough post-infinite statistics yet. We don't have enough players that are completely in infinite. And so there is a little bit of bot inflation, but it does give us a little bit of a snapshot into how the cards are generally doing, how the decks are doing as well. But of course, we're going to be going off of our feelings around the cards and how we've played them, how we've played against them, and etc. Now, first is going to be Galactus First Steps. This is a very fascinating card, one that I was excited about. I came in higher, so last week we had Dexter on, and Dexter was kind of like ho-hum about it. I came in a little higher, and in my early testing with Galactus, he felt a little lackluster. It was a huge body. I actually really liked the gameplay he provided. I really liked the idea of having a herald. It almost reminded me of Sanctum Showdown. Like, it kind of had like this, we want to fight for locations type thing. I actually really like this inclusion in the game. I think this is a really well-designed season pass card that adds an element to Snap that I think is fun and engaging. So for that, I'm all in. However, with the actual gameplay, I was a little more suspect at the start. The decks that I was playing, we were winning, we were climbing, but it wasn't like an astronomical rocket ship climb like sometimes like with Mr. Fantastic was, right? Like it wasn't that. And I think we can both agree that Galactus Fantastic Four First Steps is not Mr. Fantastic First Steps. And it's not quite even close. However, over time, I feel like some decks have started to come out which are starting to showcase his power. And at the very least, he might be better than I originally expected. So Husky, I'm going to give you the floor here. What are your thoughts on Galactus 4 First Steps? And generally speaking, what's your overall star rating?
He is probably, I would say, around a 3-star card. I'll spoil you there a little bit. He is not a particularly bad thing to play. He goes in a couple of decks. I used a clog deck recently that felt very, very solid at high infinite. And it's like, okay, this is something that, sometimes you hit with and it gets really big, and then sometimes you don't. It's a little tricky to build around. But just because it's tricky to build around doesn't mean that it's a bad card. It just means it's, a little bit harder to slot in where it shouldn't be. I definitely say this is something that you can play, something that is very, very satisfying to play. It's like seeing the animation go off is very, very fun and sort of just playing himself, just a phenomenal play animation. I'm very, very happy with that. I think in any other card game, Galactus First Steps would work. But because we have the snap system and because you can snap on, hey, maybe I get Galactus First Steps to, that big unstoppable stat line, maybe one every 3 games, I can snap on one of those every 3 games. And then sometimes I just don't have to play him. I definitely underrated him at first. I don't think he's meta breaking. Yeah, he's not Mr. Fantastic. That card is bonkers. That card is absolutely nuts. That is free power and energy cheat for playing him early, and then you just snowball from there. I'm surprised that card is allowed to exist, but it does. Yeah, it's fun. It's cool. You can get away with playing it and you can succeed, and I like that.
It's definitely fun, and it's definitely not being played as much as Mr. Fantastic. Around this time, Mr. Fantastic, I think, was seeing a play rate in the high, mid-30s percentage-wise in the meta, right? This card's running a 20% popularity rate according to Untapped. Still a 56% win rate, positive cubes, and again, that's bot inflated. But that's all absolutely fine. There's been a couple of interesting decks, but some of the decks are just well, I took the end of turn deck and I just slammed Galactus Fantastic Four First Steps in it, right? And it's okay, I get it. That deck's just going to do good anyways. But we have seen some interesting cooks. We have seen some stuff with with Fenris and the Mercury Cannonball package. I've seen some Negasonic stuff because you're working with initiative. I appreciate that stuff. And I myself have preferred the Wiccan style shells because you do have the Quicksilver on one, and when Quicksilver is your Galactus First Steps Herald, it's kind of funny. I don't know, I just like that a little bit. But then you have often very interesting follow-ups. You have the Mr. Fantastics, the Mercuries, the Merlins, the Fenris Wolves. Decent power to put up. And then by then he's 616. You know what I mean? And that's pretty fair. It does have the Red Hulk problem, though. You're not going to catch someone by surprise with Galactus Fantastic. They're not oh, where'd that thing come from? You know what I mean? It's they know it's coming. Whereas, with my Evo Hulk, I'm have they been keeping track? I don't think so. And I'm here it goes. 21, 22 power Hulk. It's never 21. What am I talking about? 22 power Hulk. Boom, slams down. They're bro, I didn't account for that. But Galactus won't do that to you. You know what I mean?
So you call it the Red Hulk problem. I think that's actually a little bit of a sneaky upside. When you see Red Hulk pop up on the screen or Galactus slowly looming larger, your mind is thinking, okay, they're going to play this card turn 6. And a lot of high infinite players as well will make their play around one big guy. And that is a bit of a fear factor that if you are strong enough at predicting your opponents, you can definitely exploit. It's hey, yeah, they're going to prediction Shang, and then I just don't play any 10 plus power cards there, and suddenly you are playing a 4/3 on the last turn that does nothing. It's it's a downside just because it shows how big it is. They can do that math a little bit easier, but if you can make that math the wrong thing to do in that scenario, you are going to benefit from it in a very, very cool and unexpected way. Going with your Wiccan builds, I definitely like Wiccan a lot in those sort of shells. 6-drops have always had the problem of, hey, playing one card on turn 6 isn't the best thing to do. You'd rather... Marvel Snap is a game of 2 lanes. You want to be able to contest 2 or maybe stop your opponent from contesting 2. Galactus, if played on 6, doesn't really do that, but Wiccan can make it come down earlier than 6 in a way that, other ways of cheating it out, like Blink and Jubilee, don't do as well.
No, not I absolutely agree. And one interesting thing you did bring up is you could subvert expectations by not playing him, right? And so you can do instead of doing Galactus for steps on turn 6, well, I'll move my Mercury, pump you with Cannonball, and play Merlin's skill or whatever, right? And it's what are you gonna do now, kid? You know what I mean? You just get those, you rip the cubes out of their hand. I do like that a lot. It does look like that it is underperforming expectations slightly, but we're still cooking, still early. But Mr. Fantastic 4, it is not. This is not going to be that. I don't even think it's a buff candidate. I don't think they buff this card. Could they? If they take it to 614, and that's I mean, that's very obvious. Like, we're trying to sell season passes, right? Like, it's not a power issue for Galactus 4 First Steps. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what would you, if you wanted to buff this card, what's the dial you turn? Because I don't think you change the power. Like, it's not a power problem, is it?
I mean, there's a certain level of, anything that's too overstated, people will find a way to play it. It's just a fact of life. But if you really wanted to make this card playable, and it would hurt the flavor a lot, but you would make it a 5-drop. You make it a card that, hey, you don't have to build your deck or game plan about, ramping it out a little bit early. If you can make this a 5-drop that people are just willing to slam on 5 and then maybe protect it on 6 and shuffle the game around with like a Cosmo, a Juggernaut, maybe even Negasonic Teenage Warhead, something cool like that, I think this card would definitely go up in play rate a lot. But that feels like I'm making a whole different card at that point. Maybe you could do something with the +3 for turn if you knock it down to like a 6/11, but
yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot, because then it would probably outscale something like a Hulk, right? And I don't know if you necessarily want that either. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think shifting it to a 5 cost would probably be a massive change. The last time we saw that, a big shift like that was probably Phoenix Force, right? We saw a big shift down in cost for Phoenix Force, and that kind of changed because Phoenix Force started as a 5 cost, did it not? And then we dropped down to 4.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah, it was like impossible to play. Yeah, remember those days when the season pass cards were hard to play? Anyways, yeah. So Galactus 4, Fantastic Four First Steps. I don't even know what I just said there. The names are getting too damn long, but whatever. You know what I meant. I like the card. Is it the best thing? I mean, here's the thing though. The season pass, the baseline season pass for $9.99 USD still represents a very good value in Marvel Snap. If you're gonna spend money in Snap, the season pass is usually the best avenue for that. And the card is good enough and it's fun enough that it'll get you through a season. If you're like, I buy the season pass, I build a deck, and that's what I play. But it's not going to be a meta shaker as of right now anyways, but we'll have to see. It's relying a lot on the support cast. Like when I'm seeing some of the high performing decks do well, it's like, well, yeah, they're doing well because they're running the Cannonball Mercury package and they're running, some meta stuff that makes a lot of sense. They're running the Fenris Negasonic Gladiator stuff that's gaining in popularity. Fenris Wolf, man, what a card. It's coming out of nowhere lately, eh? So like, I do have hope for Galactus. But at the same time, let's be realistic. It's not quite as high hitting as a heavy hitter as Mr. Fantastic was this past season. And that's going to take us to our next card, which is going to be a very interesting discussion, Husky. This is the Silver Surfer Fantastic Four First Steps, a 3/4 that reads, end of turn. If you're winning this location with an on-reveal card, copy its text. Husky, I have a confession, and it's obvious. It's obvious when you're looking at the screen here. I haven't played this card. I can't bring myself, honestly, to play the card. I got the premium season pass, super premium season pass, whatever you want to call it. And I always did. It's something I tried to explain to people in the past. When it was just a variant and a bunch of borders and like just random stuff, I got it anyways because I love borders and I love random stuff. And I just, I get a little goodie bag. I support Marvel Snap. I make content for the game. I'm okay with that. But ever since they added the card to the game in the super premium slot, I have felt dirty making that purchase. Like, even though it added value for me technically, like it feels worse. I feel like I'm kind of moving against the community. It's a very difficult thing to explain. I have not been able to bring myself to actually play this card. This is a Silver Surfer. I am one of the most Silver Surfer loving gamers on the planet, man. It is like the deck I play the most. Currently playing the Fenris version. But like, I can't do it. I can't bring myself to play this card. I haven't played a single game of this card. I don't even know what to tell you.
I'm gonna be real. I haven't either. I have played 0 games with this card. Coming from a content creator's perspective, it's hard to make content for a card that not a lot of people want to buy. This is an extra $10 for not the same value as the season pass. That's a little bit of a hard pill to swallow, and it's not really interesting enough of a card for me to really, want the deck build with. I've seen a little bit of people playing it with, like, Iron Patriot, Surge, but, like, that's okay. You're doing it on 3 after a good 2-drop, and then maybe nowhere else. It's just like okay, sure, yeah, you could definitely play that. But I don't think the high-level people I'm talking to are either not really willing to buy the super premium pass, or not really interested enough to experiment with this card. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm very glad this card bores me. It's like, if there is going to be a card that is in the super premium, I would want it to be one that, people are fine with skipping. That's what I want. If they feel like, oh, they're pressured into buying this extra value, that feels bad. And it's like, okay, yeah, I'm fine with this one being bad.
Yeah, I like that take a lot. And for me, it's been interesting because I've been feeling pressured to play it, because I know there's a lot of people who it's kind of my job to cover the new card releases and give impressions on it and what I think and how it feels and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like I'm watching this player base dwindle, man. Like, I'm watching people turn away from this game actively. Every single day, I'm getting messages from, long-time subscribers saying, hey, man, like, I'm out. Thank you for the content. But, like, I've been saying the same thing for, like, a year. It's been the same thing over and over again. And I think that there were some people that were hoping that the Silver Surfer Fantastic Four First Steps was not going to be a super premium season pass card, and that the Fantastic Car was going to be kind of like the thing where it's like, well, people were very angry about this, but at the same time, Fantastic Car, in my opinion, Husky, I'll let you chime in, I think Fantastic Car is a way better card than this one is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the problem is when Fantastic Car Cook started coming out, like on day, 2? That people were like, oh, Fantastic Car is actually super. What did people do? They started buying the super premium season pass. And the Fantastic Car started seeing a lot of play. And that sent a signal to Second Dinner, like, hey, want to make some money? Let's make a super premium season pass card that bangs. And here's the problem, is now they're going to see the Silver Surfer's not going to sell as well because it's not as enticing. What do you think is going to happen next month or the month after that or whatever? Next thing you know, that super premium season pass card is going to look pretty damn, like, savory. You know what I mean? It's going to have that sex appeal that this one is lacking. And that is a major concern I have. I'm worried about the signals that's being sent to the Second Dinner monetization team, and I don't know what to say. I wish I had more to say about Silver Surfer Fantastic Four First Steps. And I wish the conversation was not solely focused on the card in relation to how it's being released. I wish we were able to talk about the actual merits of the card itself. But Husky, we can't, because, like, let's be real, like, it's not like we are in a very difficult time for Marvel Snap, and this card is one of the problems.
Yeah, it's just not what I'll talk just for content creator's sake. I'll say, yeah, just play this card alongside Iron Patriot and your win rate will go down. There's some cheeky things you can do, but, like, yeah, this card, it represents a lot more than just the abilities. It's repping a lot of the monetization. I think, Fantastic Car scared me a fair bit. It's like, okay, one thing that actually scares me a lot about the Super Premium Pass is what happens when there's a season pass that's terrible, but a Super Premium Pass that's absolutely phenomenal. Because you can't buy the Super Premium Pass without buying the season pass, unless I'm mistaken, can you?
No, you can't, and that's 100% a major challenge. And, like, let's be honest, that might happen by accident, right? Like, that's not something that, like, the balance team sits down like, oh, we're going to make some coin this month, right? Like, that it might be a true accident where they think that the Super Premium Season Pass card's not as good, and then you or someone else cooks something absolutely insane, and it pops off, it goes crazy, and everyone wants it, and next thing you know it's like, well, Galactus Fantastic Four First Steps is, no one's playing that, but everyone's talking about the Silver Surfer Fantastic. Like, think about what Invisible Woman did to end of turn decks. Like, they're insane. Like, they're absolutely insane. That was my card of the month, by the way, and everyone poo-pooed on that. So, dude,
you're absolutely correct.
Yeah, that card is absolutely ridiculous. Imagine if that was a Super Premium Season Pass. Like, oh my god, like, it would have been disaster. Like, that would have been like, just close up. Like, do something else. It's over, guys. Like, just shut down because it's over.
Yes.
But yeah, that's the major risk. What happens and that day will come. Whether it's an accident or on purpose, it will come where the Super Premium Season Pass card is going to overperform by a significant margin the Season Pass card. And the only reason why last month it didn't really rear its ugly head was because Mr. Fantastic 4 was stupid good.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
it was because that was itself a stupid card. And so Fantastic Four got to kind of like hide under it a little bit.
Oh, Oh yeah, it's like we had the best card we've seen, and has continued to be best card, if not like top 3, and then Fantastic Art, which is it was a little bit weak on release. There was some things you could do with it. It at High Infinite didn't see much play, but when Invisible Woman First Steps came out, suddenly that breathes a lot of new life. Not as much as Mr. Fantastic himself, but yeah, it's just a question of when do we get to see those roles reversed? Because I think, honestly, we've probably already had that problem happen already. Because, power level is one reason to buy the card. But let's say, just personal preference. If someone wants Silver Surfer, the new Silver Surfer card, but doesn't want the new Galactus card, they can't get it. It's power level isn't the only thing. There are some very high infinite people who do not care for certain archetypes, do not care for power. And that is something that cannot be overlooked. It's just a little bit less choice than I would really like to see.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. And I guess that's more or less our points on Silver Surfer Fantastic Four First Steps. We'll have to see how she ages. Honestly, the card's probably fine. Like, let's be honest, the card's probably fine. I don't think it's broken, but I do see it having some potential decent synergies. But overall, it's a card that, we're a little remiss that exists in some ways. I don't even know if that sentence made sense, but we're going with it. We're going to be going to our next card of the season, and this is the Series 5 Stardust. Stardust, wow, this was a card that had so much, I don't want to say hype, just fervor, fear, like just general murmurs of discontent. Some people excited, some people very fearful. An absolutely insane effect, and for the audio listeners, I will read it out. Stardust is a 4/7 that reads, ongoing. Cards cannot be added to locations except by playing or moving them. Huskypuppies. Last week, I came in at 2 stars on Stardust, and I said that the fear was largely overhyped because I felt, and still feel, that because you can't use it in an offensive manner in a deck, it's unlikely to have the meta penetration where this effect will destroy the meta. However, I will tell you, I've won a number of games just because Stardust is sitting there and your boy playing against me is not paying attention. I think this might be the next Echo.
Oh, I've fallen into that trap as well. It's I am not infallible whatsoever. Yeah, this card, I think best way to describe this card released when we didn't need it. This is a card that stops like an overwhelming hella meta, something like that. It's also very, very solid with certain locations too. You get to use those locations, use sort of Sinister Londons, shall we say, to get an early lead and then turn it off. But it's like, okay, this is releasing at a time where, end of turn things are the best thing to do. And this doesn't really affect any end of turn things. We don't need this card. It's like, okay, yeah, Mobius is a great card, but when Mr. Negative and Energy Cheat is out of the meta, he's gonna look a lot worse than he is. I think this card definitely has the potential to improve, but that's really gonna depend on future releases, future metas. But honestly, I don't know how much this card can shine. This card has a problem of being a little bit too hard of, say, like a Hela counter. That, like, Fenris doesn't completely shut down Hela. It really, really hurts it, but Hela can still exist. With Stardust, if Hela ever becomes popular, Stardust shuts that down, and then Stardust himself kind of starves. Because if you're playing, a mirror, and then one of you is running Stardust and one of you is running a card that actually furthers your game plan, it's, the guy who's not running Stardust is going to win.
Yeah, no, I absolutely see that as well. And like, to kind of like reiterate what I was trying to say before too, was that like with Stardust, when you compare it, like, so in terms of tech, right, it's much more comparable to like a Mobius and Mobius as opposed to an Enchantress or Shang-Chi, right, naturally. However, what I will say is that, like, this is week 15 in a row of me saying this. If there ever comes a day where Second Dinner does what I'm asking and move Pixie to a 1-cost, right? Move Pixie to a 1-cost, okay? Suddenly, Mobius and Mobius looks a lot better, and you're using it offensively as well as defensively, right? Like, you're using it to prevent the pixie from kind of scamming you, this and that. So Stardust doesn't really have that yet. It doesn't have that. Well, you're going to use Stardust because it works for your deck, and also you might catch your opponent, right? It doesn't have that. And the other thing that it doesn't have the cube equity of the Shang-Chi's and the Enchantresses. Because Shang-Chi, you can just like flip a location. Enchantress, you turn off Cerebro or whatever it is. Cerebro, by the way, still one of the top points power decks in the game right now. People don't talk about Cerebro. Cerebro's actually still going insane. But Stardust doesn't really do much to Cerebro. Yeah, okay, against C2, it'll stop Mr. Sinister. It'll stop Brood, right? But like, those decks still can pop off against the Stardust. And so, like, while it does impact a lot of stuff, way more stuff than you might think, the way that, like, I snap won a game, for instance, is I snapped on a Stardust that I was able to get on turn 3. I was just really excited. I don't know. I had no other reason to snap. And they happened to snap a Surged Doom 2099 on turn 3. And so, like, my Stardust comes out. They snap on me. I snap on them. My Stardust comes out. Their Doom 29 comes out. And it's just like your opponent's retreated, right? And it's like, yes, we did it, but like you can't. It's much harder. Like when Stardust just sitting there, you can't snap going into turn 4 or 5 and be like, "Oh, Stardust, bro," and they're like, "Well, okay, now I can't do my Ultron, so see ya, I guess. Enjoy your cube or two." Whereas Shang-Chi and Enchantress can rip cubes out of your opponent's hands. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. It's. I mean, there is still some value in that. It's like you recognize the matchup. You say, "Oh, Stardust is going to get extra value here." And you can do it. It's just, it doesn't affect the board on turn 6 unless you make a pretty big call out and then play it on turn 6, which is a little bit of a tall ask. Yeah, it's just not the best thing to be doing. You really want to be impacting the board state, and this is not really a surprise card. Also, slight problem with this card. Mobius is not a symmetrical effect. Mobius is I get a benefit, you get a downside. It's a symmetrical effect. You can use it to your advantage. You can like play Gladiator, and then you don't have the bad rolls that Gladiator sometimes does. But other than that, like you're still not being able to get location value out of the good locations after Stardust. You can't do Stardust and then later do a Jubilee or a Blink or a Hela. You are limiting yourself and your deck building as much as you're limiting your opponent. And it's like in a game where you're trying to cheat to get ahead, this is a very fair effect, unless you're matching into a couple very specific matchups. Also, this quick side tangent. Yeah, C3 is kind of nuts. I built a completely free-to-play series 1 through 3 Cerebro deck. Absolutely bonkers. Took me from like rank 40 to like, it was a rank 20 or so.
Unreal.
Very, very strong stuff.
That's awesome. And here's another thing I want to mention. First of all, you're gonna have to go to his stream. You're gonna have to bug him for that deck list. Okay, you're gonna go to Husky's stream, and we'll be linked all down below. But what I will tell you is that I had the thought as well. Okay, you minimize the downside of Gladiator, you minimize the downside of Sentry, you minimize the downside of Dr. Octopus, and then I was like, wait a minute, I kind of want to destroy something with Gladiator. Wait a minute, I kind of want that Void because I got Merlin or I got Viper. Wait a minute, I actually just pulled their Mystique with my Dr. Octopus. So these downsides that you're mitigating, you often use to your advantage with clever deck building. So it's like, yeah, exactly. So like I'm like Stardust, I was playing the Stardust deck, it wasn't even really a deck. I just put a whole bunch of cards that synergize with Stardust in some ways just to give the card a shot. I was like, honestly, I kind of wish Dr. Octopus disrupted one of their combos right about now, right? It's kind of funny how that works sometimes. So I have a couple questions to finish off the discussion on Stardust. First of all, would you get Stardust? Secondly, are you scared of Stardust? And third, is Stardust wearing pants?
Okay. I didn't expect that last one. I'll be honest. Okay. Let's go from the top. Would I get Stardust? I think this is a card where don't get it now. It's like the 5,000 tokens that or 1,000 tokens that you'd save from getting in packs is not worth the potential payoff in the future. That maybe it gets decent. Maybe it eventually gets worth it in a very specific meta with very specific releases. That's not right now. Sure, you can maybe make it work okay, unless I'm like going for collection complete or making content around this, I'm not getting this card. This is not a card you build your deck around and have fun with. This is a card you pick up when you really need it, when you're at your wit's end and you can't beat the oncoming Hella Storm that realistically isn't gonna really happen. Second one, am I scared of this card? I play a lot of Blink decks. No. Like, Stardust really, really hurts Blink. It makes it so you blink the card away and then nothing comes back out. You're kind of losing out all your value. But it's kind of an obvious snap. It's like, oh, okay, you're doing that. And also, oftentimes, I'm blinking on 4 with priority. And if you play Stardust and think that I'm going to blink and then do anything else, you're kind of just playing a 4/7. It's like, that's nice. That's cool. I don't care. There's not really much you can do. Is Stardust wearing pants? See, the problem with me is I am terrible about cosmetics and looking at card art. I care very much about what the card does, not really what the card looks like. I have bought 2 variants in my lifetime, and that was after being donated to by viewers with that express purpose in mind. I would hope so. It's like I'm not gonna be able to unsee this. Oh God, I don't know. I'm scared to look. Why did you do this to me?
I'm sorry. Okay, and just so you don't lose your mind, we'll move on. We do have 2 more cards to talk about as Husky tries to figure out whether or not Stardust is wearing pantaloons. The next card we need to discuss here is going to be Terrax the Tamer. Terrax the Tamer is honestly a very... Are you Googling is he wearing pants?
Yeah, I need to know. It's like...
How do you even Google that? I just see you're typing. Like, what are you asking? ChatGPT? Like, is this card
I'm just
wearing
like
pants?
looking through Google images. I don't think that's pants. Okay, I think that's like a lizard type body.
Like a carapace?
I don't know, man. It's like, okay, you're asking me the questions after you feel like, it's like, oh, you're just like, let's open Pandora's box. What do you see in there? And it's just like holding my head up to it. It's, I don't know, man. I'm trying to make sense of this too.
All right, so let's make sense of Terrax, because for me, I actually came in low on Terrax. I gave him 3 stars in the preview. And you know what? Honestly, he's been probably my most fun card this month. I shouldn't say that because Redshift's pretty cool too. Redshift's done some cool stuff too. But like Terrax, I actually enjoyed way more than I expected. Now, I could see this card getting buffed to 3-4, like just if they want to encourage play rates. I think the win rates are kind of middling. It's running 52%, 3% popularity, and that's even with bot inflation. Like, those aren't great stats, right? Like for bot inflated stats. So like for me though, it's like, listen, man, I was playing a Darkhawk deck as you would with a card like Terrax. Terrax, by the way, is a 3/3 that reads, on reveal for each location, shuffle a rock into the losing player's deck. It's not... The text is a little confusing in some ways, but one thing that might not be fully appreciated about this is that if you play with initiative, Terrax's power will be applied to a location, and then his effect will proc before your opponent's cards can reveal. So if you're winning a location 1, you're winning a location 2, and on turn 3 on curve, you play Terrax into a location. Even if both of you and your opponent play into that location, Terrax's power will be applied, his reveal will happen, and the rocks will be stuffed into his deck. There's no animation. I don't know why. Maybe they're releasing cards too fast. I'm just going to throw it out there. But anyways, no animation, but Terrax actually is pretty spicy. Like, this is some significant disruption for your opponent while also juicing your Darkhawk.
Yeah, it is certainly a neat card. I think its problem is it's doing a very good thing for Darkhawk. The problem is Darkhawk is like, it's not a absolutely phenomenal win condition. A lot of the big dies to everything tech card, or 5-drops rather, Darkhawk, Devil Dinosaur, and Ronin, you know, they die to Enchantress, Rogue, Shang, just everything under the sun, and then some. You know, they're very vulnerable. And this is a card that, yeah, it helps out Darkhawk, but is Darkhawk really the thing you want to be doing? It also does have the opportunity to backfire a little bit, sort of is in that like Ares sort of way, and where it shouldn't. You're building your deck in a way that probably gets early turn prio, but then, what happens if you don't draw a 1-drop, or maybe you miss your 2? Like, maybe you just play Korg on 1, you play a decent power 2-drop, and then, okay, yeah, you shuffle maybe 1 rock in their deck, maybe then 2, and then it's like, shuffling 1 in your own, is that really worth a 3/3 when there are a lot of strong 3-drops? There are some very strong 3-drops in this game that do a lot of different things. Like, you are playing this over potentially like a Juggernaut, a Negasonic Teenage Warhead. And it's like, yeah, you shuffle in the rocks, and that gives the Darkhawk power, but like, okay, I play Negasonic with priority. I just take away that your power that you had on the board, it's no longer on the board. I don't have to jump through the hoop of playing Darkhawk.
Yeah.
So part of it's also I don't enjoy Darkhawk decks as much, so I'm a little bit lower on this card than you are.
Yeah, no, I like Darkhawk, but I agree. Like, listen, I think this card impressed me from a playability standpoint. I think when you're actually playing it, it's better than you thought it was because of that reveal interaction that it has. However, you are right. It's like, instead of playing Terrax the Tamer, you're probably better off putting a Cosmo in your Darkhawk deck. You know what I mean? It's like
something that, instead of making your Darkhawk +4 power, it keeps it alive.
Yeah. Exactly, right? So, like, I totally do see that. And I did find opportunities to play Cosmo on 3, and then Darkhawk on 5, and then this alongside Mystique. And I thought that was kind of cool, too. Now, it's fascinating because, like, this card is extremely niche. It's literally a Darkhawk card, basically. Well, right now, unless they have future designs we've not yet seen. But literally, it's a Darkhawk card, and it feels understated. So I think this is 100% going to get juiced up a little bit. I almost can feel it right now. And when it does, I feel like it'll actually be a pretty decent power infusion into the Darkhawk shells. Whether or not those shells are good, who knows? I do know, though, that internally, do you remember when Darkhawk got nerfed? And like, internally, 0.5% of players have been playing the crap out of Darkhawk, and it's doing really well. We got a nerf, and everyone's like, wait, where did this come from? Oh. I would love to know where Darkhawk sits internally. You know what I mean? It's one of those cards that I feel like we don't play anymore, and I wonder if it's even good.
I think it's a very much a meta call. Like, you have a lot of Arishem in the meta. You play Darkhawk. You take their lunch and, kick them to the curb, laugh your way to the bank. But it's like, we're not really in an Arishem meta. We're in a green points end of turn meta. So it's like, I could definitely see this improving. And in the meantime, I could see this going to like 3-4. That would be, I think that's where they put it. Anything more seems a little bit gross. I'm scared if they put this to a 3-5.
Yeah, 3-5 is probably high. I can see it going to a 3-4 for sure. And I was even playing it alongside like Cassandra Nova, who obviously feasts on the rocks as well and stuff like that. But you're right. Considering what like some of these, comparing Terrax the Tamer to the Invisible Woman for Steps, not quite a good comparison, right? So I got excited because I got to play Darkhawk again. I do really like Darkhawk, even if it's not an Arishem meta. I just like playing it, and that's where I'm at in my Marvel Snap career. I'm like, bro, I just want to play. I actually want to enjoy playing the game. So I enjoyed Terrax, and I felt like it was close. But, bro, I gotta be honest with you.
Oh yeah.
So in my review of this card, I very quickly realized it reminds me. So Redshift, the 2/3 that reads, on reveal, discard the leftmost card from your hand to add a random card with the same cost to your hand. First of all, it really reminds me of like some sort of Dragon Ball Z character. It has a Dragon Ball Z character feel to it. I don't know what it is. Like the Majin Buu era of Dragon. Maybe it's the almost M on his belt that like gives me that Majin Buu feel. But long story short, Redshift. Wow. I never thought I was going to pull out my Pixel Agatha and actually unironically, clap some cheeks and have some fun. But I think Redshift has single-handedly brought back Agatha.
Oh, yeah. I remember building that original, back when Agatha got buffed or significantly changed, building that deck, and then it sort of quickly fell off just because, it still has this problem now of, hey, if you don't get your Agatha out of hand, you lose. It's like maybe you can scrape by a win or two, but like most of the time, you don't cheat out Agatha, you lose here. But yeah, it's like, doing the math for getting Black Knight on 1 or 2, with Agatha is absolutely bonkers. And I think it's underperforming a little bit just because a lot of things are going over the top. But Agatha is plus one draw is so nuts. That is like, you cannot understate just the consistency and that absolute power spike that, like old Thanos had. It's like, yeah, extra one draw. You just play that in Thanos, Arishem, Agamotto, and then just win the second Golden Gauntlet, because why not? But I like this card a lot. This is cool. Agatha's cool. It's just a very neat deck building exercise, and I'm glad it fails less often. I think we'll see this shine a lot more later.
Something that I'll note is based on untap-based statistics, which once again do incorporate some bots here. Redshift's Agatha decks are running almost universally a 56% win rate, which is higher than Galactus First Steps. So that's pretty impressive. Like Redshift's Agatha shells are actually putting in some work. And what I love about it too is that we haven't even really started cooking with like traditional discard. Everyone's so just spiced up with the Agatha. Like, I have not seen many cooks with the standard discard yet. I don't know if you have seen others yourself.
I've seen a little bit of cooking with this card. I've seen some very, very cool Agatha with like V-hand sort of stuff. I don't think we're going to see this in standard discard. I don't think this is targeted enough to replace the likes of like even Colleen Wing or Blade or anything like that, because it's a lot easier to manipulate the right card in your hand with things coming back to hand than it is the left. But this is, I don't think it'll happen there, but I think, yeah, it definitely does have a little bit of unexplored space that it can maybe find a home in. If I want to really be cope, it's like, oh, you play Redshift on 2, you discard a 3-drop, you play out a 3-drop, and then you Firelord it back, and you get a second Surfer from Redshift, and you win 10 million cubes, and you hit infinite to rank 1. Congratulations, Ben Brode is coming to your house. He will give you a little sticker.
That sounds like a great day. I want that day. That sounds fantastic. But yeah, so yeah, Redshift is definitely an Agatha card. And here's a quick question for you. So with Agatha now being actually playable, is it time we start changing the way she like hoards boosters? Like, I know that is like a lore accurate thing with the way she absorbs powers, but I also believe that is a holdover from like in the alpha, the second dinner team internally discovered exploits using boosters as progression, where they could like basically bot farm Agatha, bot farm boosters and gain progress and all that stuff. I don't know the exact details. I feel like it's a team answer from like back in alpha, like in the beta, where it's been like, we had to do that to Agatha because people figured out a way to like bot or whatever with her. Yeah. So now that like you have capped the season pass caches, like no, like the caches only go to a certain, they used to be unlimited, right? They're capped now. So there's no more Agatha farmers, stuff like that. Now that you've done all that, like, do we now make it so that like you can actually, Agatha can distribute some boosters? Like, does she have to steal them every single game? You know what I mean?
Maybe it's like, maybe she only steals them like half the time. Would be nice. She plays half your turn, she gets like half the boosters. That makes sense. But yeah, I think that is a question of, can people find a way to bot and exploit the system? Because the season pass caches don't go infinitely, but by botting, you can at least get more than you'd want, and that's probably something that the second dinner team really doesn't want to encourage. Like, I really want to like get some boosters for like my Black Knight. I want a cool split on him or something else like that. It feels a little bit bad now that Agatha is something actually playable, and it's like, okay, I personally don't care about cosmetics all that much, and it still feels a little bit bad not to get them. Like, neat. I got Agatha boosters again. What do I do now?
Yeah, exactly. I absolutely agree. And with that being said, my man, that's going to conclude our podcast today. But before we go, you have to give us the rundown of where we can find you. Because if you are interested in absolutely fantastic Marvel Snap gameplay, some of the highest ranked gameplay you will find on the internet, Husky, where do we find such gameplay?
I'll say what I said during the Golden Gauntlet sign-off. You can find me hiding in your walls. I'm in there. You just have to look harder. or on Twitch at Huskypuppies35. I got a Discord server as well. If you are interested in becoming a top player or just even better at the game, finding a little bit more of that experience, I would highly recommend that. I do warn you, if you come into my chat, don't use the !dex command. That will either time you out or link you to Dexter's Dex. You have to do !real Dex. It's a little bit of a chaotic wasteland to determine how I gave people power in my channel. I spun a wheel like a whole bunch of times and just had like an all-out fight. And when the dust settled, it's like, these guys are still alive. Let's pick them. But if you can make it through that chaos, come to one of those two places. I'll be more than happy to have you. And yeah, it's a wonderful community. Snap is not in the place I would want it to be, but I love this community with a passion. Especially the part that has been I've sort of carved out and has been supporting me. I could not be happier with them. So shout out to them. Join if you'd like.
Absolutely. Husky, thank you so much for joining us today. And once again, to all of you either listening or watching on the internet, we appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you for watching as well. And we'll see you on that next one.